Okay, so here's the deal. I like photography, and if you clicked on this video, you probably do too. And I've owned a camera since I think 2021 that I've used consistently for street photography and landscape. And never in that time until now had I thought that I should probably get myself a dedicated camera bag. Recently I've been using one of these Uniqlo bags, which is great, but not particularly great if you want to carry more than just your camera, maybe an additional lens, because it is a fairly roomy but kind of unstructured bag. So if you want to carry anything additional, it just all kind of gets messed up in there. I also am the kind of person that gets cold all the time. I always need to have some sort of sweater or maybe a sweatshirt with me, so having something bigger makes sense, like a backpack. So for the past couple of weeks I've been looking at the camera backpack market and trying to find the sweet spot, which for me boiled down to these three criteria. First, it had to be less than 150 pounds. I don't really fancy spending too much on a camera backpack. It has to be light, because if I'm going on a trip and I just want to carry a few things with me, I don't want it to get heavy quickly. Like, I think a camera bag or a bag in general is there to serve a purpose. It needs to be a hold-all, you know, like a place to store your things. And then lastly, it needs to be compact. As I said, I don't need anything large because I am a small person. I'm only 5'2", so anything bulky would look really large on my person. It would look just a bit awkward. It just makes sense for me to look between 20 to 25 liter range, maybe 25 even isn't overkill. So for the past couple of weeks I've been doing my research. I've even compiled a spreadsheet that I am happy to share if you want to see it. Looking through the entire backpack market, whether it is your Peak Designs, your Manfrotto, your PGY Tech, Earth, Air. I also looked at Bellroy. So the one I've ordered is this one, which is the Brevite Jumper, I think it's called, camera version. So it has this side access window here, which if I open right now, I think should already have my camera. Does it? Yes. Here's my small little Fuji. The deal with this backpack is that I live in the UK, and unfortunately they don't have a warehouse in the UK. I think it's a US based company. I wouldn't even have this backpack in my hands had I not bought it secondhand, because this is the 22 liter version, which on the market currently is 152 pounds. So already top of my budget, but the shipping from the US was 30 pounds as well. So it really skyrockets the price into the region that is just too uncomfortable for me. Plus, as it turns out, all international sales for Brevite are final. So if I didn't like this backpack, I couldn't even return it. So that's why I decided to look secondhand, and guess what? I got this backpack for less than 100 quid. I paid 85, and I'm going on a trip in a couple of days to Wales, where I'm gonna do a bunch of photography, hopefully, landscape and different conditions. So I really want to test it out, see whether it is fit for purpose and I can carry it with me. There are two obvious downsides to this as a travel and gear option. First of all, it doesn't have waterproof or watertight zippers. The only one that they have on this bag is meant to protect your laptop here, which, when you specifically advertise a backpack to be camera friendly, is a little bit counterintuitive, because one of the main compartments over here to access the camera, so if I open it, isn't water sealed, so it's not going to protect your camera from any rain. And so, as you can see, the organization here is a little bit interesting, but it fits. But I already tested it by dropping a little bit of water here on the zipper, and it does seep through. So if you do get this backpack and you plan to use it for like landscape photography trips, you obviously need to get some sort of a pouch to put on top of it that would protect it from the rain. And then the body itself also wouldn't be able to withstand heavy rain conditions. Maybe light rain, because it does sort of roll off, but if the water stays on the surface for too long, it will seep through. So those two things I do find disappointing. I think the last thing that is obvious to me right now before I'm able to go on a trip and test it is that while these straps are good and thick and padded, actually they're a little bit rigid, I would say. They're not the softest, but we'll see. They don't have a sternum strap. It's always useful to have one, especially for gear dedicated bags. I mean, to me it wasn't a big deal, which is why I bought this backpack to begin with, because I do have a sewing machine, so I think I can easily just attach a strap of my own here. But I think it's just such an obvious improvement to make and such a small detail to add to make this backpack like really future-proof, in addition to weatherproofing this backpack for, you know, gear specific reasons. So far these are my initial comments. I think it is a cute backpack. It's very backpacky looking but I do hope that if Brevite see this video, they are able to take that into account. From the features point of view, this is I would say a mid-sized backpack. It consists of 3 compartments, right? Or 2, I guess 2 really, if you kind of boil it down to it. So you have this top axis that you can open up, and there's this wall that you can just store your personal belongings in. You can then remove this wall like this and attach it to the top like that to make it a single compartment for both your gear or just your personal belongings if you're not carrying any gear. But this wall is used in combination with these dividers here to create space for your gear. So that's the main compartment. To the main compartment, we have side access for your gear purposes. It's actually really convenient. I did quite appreciate that. And then lastly, we have this AquaGuard zipper here for a laptop compartment, which is quite deep and actually fits up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. This is the only zipper on this backpack that is AquaGuard. On the inside, we have another zip pocket over here, so pretty simple over here. And then we have this other section that is just for smaller things. So you can put your batteries over here, cables, anything like that, anything that you fancy just throwing in there. And thankfully it is kind of well padded and it fits quite a lot. So you're able to stuff it in because the backpack isn't that rigid. So in addition to these features, we've got these straps over here that could fit in a tripod. So if you have a fairly small or actually large tripod, then you're able to just relax them here a little bit like that, right? You're able to relax them, fit it in, and then just tighten them as per usual, fairly easy. So actually you can either use this for your tripod or you can use this as well. So this has a very useful hook over here where you can put in your tripod like that, like so, and then just secure it over with this strap. It isn't the most secure hook, not gonna lie, so there is a possibility that it will fall. I actually didn't personally test it. On the back, we have these straps, of course. They are pretty thick, they're very well padded, so they are fairly comfortable. I would appreciate if they were not so boxy a shape, maybe just like shave them down on the side so that they sit a little bit less square on your shoulders. There's also this extra compartment over here that I actually haven't emptied. So this extra compartment over here for your documents and your passport and whatnot. Actually, that's quite useful. That's where I store them. I really like that feature. There's a luggage pass-through here, so convenient to put on your suitcase. And that's about it with the features. Okay, so let's see how the backpack performed during our trip to Wales. So the trip was actually a really great way to test the backpack because we've experienced all sorts of weather conditions, from the first couple of days being rainy and very stormy to the last few days being quite mellow and warm and sunny. It was so windy. Just listen to this. So overall, the backpack was quite comfortable and I never felt at any point that the straps were cutting into me or anything like that. I did feel, however, quite worried for my gear at times because, as I said, the first few days were quite rainy and stormy, and every time we went on a hike and it started drizzling, I started getting worried about my gear getting wet and just for safety of it overall. Whereas I could see my boyfriend not bothered at all because his backpack was completely waterproof and the rain was just sliding off of it. So for that reason, I probably would retire this backpack or just look for something that is weather sealed, because ultimately for a piece of equipment, which I consider this backpack to be, you want to feel comfortable using it in different situations, including rain, which is frequent. It was easy to use, partly because I did use the PGY Tech dividers in there, as you can see in this clip, and my gear kind of stayed safe and secure with those dividers, whereas I can't say that I would have felt as safe using the native ones. So you'll see here that there's one native divider that came with this backpack, and then 2 extra that I added from the PGY Tech backpack. And the reason I added them is because here are the other native dividers. And let me just take out the PGY Tech one, just one of them. Let's compare this and this. Apart from the obvious differences in size and height, you can see that this one is a lot more kind of customizable and can be bent in different ways to ensure the sort of angular shapes that you frequently need when you organize your gear. Whereas this divider is very kind of, actually it's quite inflexible, so this one cannot be bent at all. So they are very similar size, and this offers you way less flexibility than this does, right? And if we compare something bigger like this, or even this, to this PGY Tech one that I added in here, right? You can very clearly see what the differences are. First of all, and the reason I even introduced this over this has a bottom Velcro attachment, which means that it sticks to the bottom of the bag and it stays put. Whereas if I put this divider inside, and first of all, it doesn't even fit fully kind of like that, it keeps on bending, right? Right, it's very hard for me to organize because first of all, it keeps doing this, and then it keeps on moving, so I can never be sure that my gear will stay in put without moving and it will keep it secure. I'm shooting on my X-T30, but this is a Sony A7C-R that is of comparable size. So I would typically put it right here, like this. And the second lens is the 55-200, which can fit like right here, or let's say here, more conservatively. And the last lens is this little 35 buddy. It fits right here. I don't even know how to organize with this, to be honest. So this is not particularly easy. And then this here, right? Better one, like this one. This feels a little tight, but that's fine. So you can see here for all of the gear that I was carrying, I have all of this L-shaped space here that I could have put my stuff into, but because there is this divider here, I can't. And I cannot remove this divider because then I cannot stick this Velcro attachment to anything and it won't be secure. And it's not flexible enough, unlike these, for example, that it would bend around and let me secure my gear here. So I have to be using this wall in order to have the division and keep my gear secure. So then my only available space here is actually this top stuff, which is unnecessarily limiting and is not an issue that we've encountered with the PGY Tech bag. So this is yet another thing that Brevite need to improve, because these feel really cheap and like not very purposeful at all, whereas these dividers from PGY Tech they're clearly stiffer, but at the same time more flexible too. Like, this is an excellent material and very thoughtfully designed. Yeah, it was a mixed bag, but the overall trip was fantastic for both photography and video. So if you're ever thinking of coming to Wales or coming to the UK and visiting anything other than London, please consider North Wales, because Snowdonia is gorgeous. Another backpack I was considering is this one, which is the Belleroy Light Ready Pack. I think it's new. I think it was just recently released. I know you're looking at this and you're thinking, why? This is not a photography backpack. There's literally no structure to this bag. There's no infrastructure to keep all of your gear safe, etc., etc. Well, the reason I was even considering it is because it is within my budget and it's very light. It's only 300 grams or 350 grams, which for me was such a big win, because I wanted to have a very light backpack, and I thought, okay, let me give it a go, especially because it has this pouch over here. And I thought, okay, if I'm able to fit all of my clothes and any essentials that I need in the main compartment and utilize this top over here for my photography gear, then maybe it's a go. But as I got it, I realized that even though it has these internal pockets over here where I thought maybe I could store a lens or two, they aren't particularly stretchy, or not stretchy at all really, so I wouldn't be able to use that for internal organization. And it does sort of turn into the same issue as I have with my Uniqlo sling bag. So even if it's not a yes for photography reasons, I think it could be a yes for other reasons, though this doesn't necessarily fit the purpose or my lifestyle, so I will be sending it back. But if you are considering it or you're thinking about it, then I mean, it is a nice backpack, even if it's quite expensive for its size and purpose. So it's 125 pounds, which for something this small is very pricey. But just thought I'd mention it because I do have it with me. It is a nice bag, worth considering. So as you could tell, I wasn't thrilled with the performance of the Brevite Jumper in the field. I felt that it was lacking some of the most basic features that a camera backpack should have, and I'm still a bit on the fence on whether I'm going to continue using that backpack or not. So at this point, not sure yet. You could also see that a lot of my criticism came through comparing this backpack to the PGY Tech 1MO Lite, which just an all-around much better backpack for photography than Brevite is. And don't worry, a full review of that backpack is coming soon. If you are interested in seeing a video where I compare and contrast all the options that I considered before pulling a trigger on Brevite and before we bought PGY Tech 1MO Lite, do let me know. Just sort of a research video where I compared, contrast all the different backpacks in the market that fit the 3 criteria I described earlier. So if that's of interest, do let me know. I might make a video on that, because God knows how many of those I watched before actually buying. Because these backpacks are not cheap, so you want to make an informed decision before you spend your hard-earned money on one of these. So I hope you found this useful. If there's anything that you'd like me to include that I didn't in this video for the PGY Tech 1 Mole Light review, do let me know. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!